we're here.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, we're starting a little bit early this time, so that's awesome.
We're giving everyone a little bit of time to join and to get in here with us.
Yes, it's like 2 minutes early anyways, too. It's 12:57 here, so.
Yeah. So we're almost ready to get started with masterclass number 3, which is a really, really important one, right?
Exactly. It's this one is, we go a little bit deeper into some of the mistakes that people make when they're launching, and a lot of emotional, baggage and things that we attribute to launching, and what we can do instead.
Absolutely. And so we're building on masterclass number 1, masterclass number 2, and next week will be the 4th and final masterclass.
I know.
We're going to talk about that. Me too, but it's the beginning of a new adventure, so it's
exactly
not that bad.
But it's been a good 3 weeks now, 4 weeks, sharing what we know about launching, which is, a beast of its own. Launching is a beast of its own.
Yeah. And I had a discussion with a client earlier today where she was talking about, all the different ways that you can help women with business. And without going into all the technical and all the actionables of having a business and running a business, and looking at things from a more mindful and holistic perspective. And that really made me think of what we're doing here, because we're not only giving people the tools that they need to be able to launch and all the technical stuff, but we're also trying to make them understand that launching can be a really, really fun experience. And that, it also has to do with mindset and with your beliefs and with your values and the way you stand in the world. So all of that. But
yes,
I'm diverging into something else.
Yes, this is what I love about these masterclass. It's very informal, but we get the bulk of what we want to say and what we want to teach out. So yeah, hopefully that's how people take it.
So what do you say, Patushka? Should we get started?
Yeah, let's start.
Yeah. Let's go.
All right. So welcome to this masterclass, everyone. I'm very, very excited. And today we're going to talk about the 5 mistakes that people make when they're launching. I have to say that this masterclass is a series of 4, and today's masterclass number 3, like Muriel mentioned. This class is going to last for a little bit, at most an hour, and you can ask questions at the end. We also have something special for you at the end, so we're going to talk to you a little bit about that. For now, let's just have a great time. Do you want to give attendees a little bit more time to get here, Muriel?
I think maybe we can just, let them know that there is a chat function that they can use if they want to ask us questions.
Exactly.
And besides that, I've seen people come through the door ever since we've been talking. So I'm thinking we're good to go.
Okay, perfect. The chat function, for those of you who don't know, is at launchingwithlove.com/masterclass, right?
Yeah, correct.
Awesome. So let's start.
Okay. So hi, welcome everyone. We're so happy to have you with us today. So what are we going to talk about today? Before diving into that, let me remind you very quickly about what we've talked in masterclass number 1 and masterclass number 2. So masterclass number 1 was all about the myths surrounding launching and how to avoid very common pitfalls to have a successful launch. Masterclass number 2 was about the 5 most important things that you need to consider when you're launching. The things that are really important and can make a difference between having a successful launch or, you know, having a hard time and trying to get everything done in time. So those were masterclasses 1 and 2, and you can actually watch the replay of these masterclasses on the launchingwithlove.com website. Now, Patushka, you might have to help me with the correct URL. But besides,
I'm gonna put a link to the URL for everything with the replay of the previous master classes in the email that we're gonna send after this. But it's basically launchingwithlove.com/masterclasses.
Okay, perfect.
Instead
Wonderful.
of just masterclass.
That's so clever. Yeah. Okay, so this week we're at Masterclass 3, and we're talking about the 5 mistakes that are commonly made when launching. Again, we're building on the foundations that we've laid in the past weeks, and we're continuing the conversation about launching with the purpose of giving you as much information as possible for your own next launch. So that's why it's so important. There is a chat function. If you want to ask us anything, go ahead. This is your time. We're here for you. There are no taboo questions. We're just here to answer everything. And at the end of the masterclass, we're going to talk about our upcoming mastermind and the doors opening for that soon. But for you who are with us today, that's going to be today. Yay! So our start date for the masterclass has been set to May 1st. But if you've been with us in previous masterclasses or you're in this one, you are going to have an opportunity to join us first. Now, Patushka, shall we get going with mistake number 1?
Yes, let's just start. So let's dive right into the 5 common mistakes that we see people making when they're launching. So Miriam and I always have these conversations that are all about launching, all about starting a new program, how to put it out there, everything that is involved in putting it out there. And sometimes it can go forever, right? So that's
it's girl time. So.
Yes. That's why I'm very, very excited to bring some of the mistakes that we see people making. And one of the first ones that I see is that people overcomplicate things, they over-deliver, and they start overselling. Now, if you have ever launched something, or you've probably done it, and I know I have done it, and I know Muriel has done it, and this kind of brings us back to the wish that we have for things to be perfect before we bring them out into the world, and also even limiting beliefs around money in our own worth. So one of the biggest things that I've learned in all my years of launching is that it's not the amount of things that you put in, the amount of widgets that you give, or the amount of bonuses what you give, but mostly the quality and the what is in it. What are people going to get from it? So the quality that matters. So I'm not saying that it's not good to give bonuses. It is interesting to consider a bonus here, a special discount there, but you don't need like a list of 20 bonuses that you want to offer your potential customer for them to buy from you. So you have to have a balance between the value that you're offering and the way you're selling it. So a rule that you can consider, it's important to remember that the information, especially in the sales cycle, is best delivered in bite-sized pieces. Focusing on one thing at a time that you're giving your prospect, you're like drip feeding them the information so that they make the best decision for them. So repetition is a good aspect of that. And something that we'll work on when you join our mastermind, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, you can remember that one thing. If you have a product or a service or a coaching package that you want to sell, stick to the fundamentals. Stick to the core. Stick to the quality that you're offering, the value that you're offering, the transformation that you're offering, and then don't overdrive or overwhelm your potential client. Be confident in what you're offering, and they'll be confident on what you're giving them without buffing it with more stuff. So yeah, that's the essential, I think, that we have to consider when if your tendency is to make that mistakes like mine was before. What do you think, Muriel?
I think that's such a great point. And it's a mistake that we can all make so easily, because when we really want to sell something to someone, sometimes we try too hard, and we think we have to offer the moon for them to be interested in what we have to sell. But that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to show the value of the product or the service and be consistent and confident that clients to buy from you. You genuinely have value to offer, so you don't have to stuff a lot of other things in there. It's just going to exhaust you, and it's not what your client is after anyway. But so I think that was a really strong point to start with when we talk about mistakes to avoid. And I'm so eager to move into mistake number 2. But before we do, maybe we can give our audience, and especially the people that don't know us that good, just a little bit of information about ourselves before moving on. What do you think, Petrushka?
Sure. So if you haven't been on these master classes with us before, my name is Muriel calls me Petrushka because that's what my name is, my real name, but
everybody calls you Pat.
Yeah, everybody calls me Pat. And I'm a launch and a leadership coach. For the past 8 years in my business, I've helped hundreds of businesses across the globe launch programs, set up online business systems, and as a result, earn more money. So my business is twofold right now. Part of my business, I manage major launch projects with bigger clients. And the other part of my business is coaching and leading new and not so new and emerging coaches to success in their own business and launches. One thing I'm very passionate about is helping these women who are my clients uncover their mission and thrive as leaders. I help them through the coaching process, achieve success by banishing, self-doubt and uncover their inner compass so that they can live a beautiful life in business.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. And
Thank you.
What I really love about your work, Petrushka, is that, you have all of these big launch clients, and you're always in the trenches of launching. You're always at the forefront, and you always know, what the new things are and how, you're on top of all of that stuff. And that's what's so interesting, especially with the mastermind where we're going to start soon, because that's a gift that's very unique and that you're going to be able to give to everyone that joins the mastermind with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's so fantastic. So now for me, I'm a life and business coach. I also like to call myself a do-good mentor. And I am dedicated to help multi-passionate and creative women to overcome the things that stop them from actually going from that creative idea to inspired action and actually getting that idea out into the world one way or another. So I'm specialized in getting personal goals put out into the world, getting creative projects started, artistic careers, world-changing businesses. And I have a particular interest for compassion and self-love, and a very, very strong belief that putting yourself first is essential for your success, whether it's in life or in business. Now, where do I tie into launching? I have more or less 20 years of experience as a business owner myself. I've also consulted for bigger corporations, nonprofits, pretty much for any type of company that is out there. And throughout that work, I learned a lot about launching and about business. And then when I wanted to pivot my career and start coaching women to be able to overcome those mental blocks, of course, I had to learn everything I could about launching online myself. So I've been through everything. I've done it. I was there. I made all the mistakes. And then eventually I really figured out how to do this for myself. And that's where all these fantastic conversations with Patushka came to be. Just because we found each other as sisters, not only for that, but also when it comes to launching. And that we've been discussing that ever since.
Exactly. And what I love about you and the discussions that we've had, you know, you kind of pair the business acumen that you have with the actual human. And, you know, there's a lot of self-love involved and a lot of, you know, looking at the deeper reasons and the deeper whys and why not, instead of just going and implementing and strategy and things like that, which is a very big part of business. But looking at the why and looking at the deeper reasons is always where we start when we work together. And I do appreciate that from you.
Thank you. That's so nice.
People are going to say, oh my God, these ladies are in love with each other.
Well, you know, love is important. It's launching with love anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, all right. So let's just go and talk a little bit about the second mistake that we see people make when they're launching is looking at other people's plans instead of implementing their own. That's a big thing. That's probably something that everyone here has seen or experienced. And we've touched about it in the first masterclass. And if you haven't watched it, I'm going to put a link in the replay email for this one, and you will be able to catch it. So this mistake is about comparing yourself with others and taking over other people's strategies and expecting it to work for your product or your service as if it was the other person. So we're not saying that it's never going to work, but the sales dynamics and launching dynamics are, in a way, sort of universal. It's a series of steps and a sales funnel. They're the same in many cases, but the way that you implement those steps and the way that you do them depends on your product, depends on your coaching program or service, depends on your goal, because we all have different goals for ourselves, for our businesses, and for our lives. Depends on your audience. And because of that mix, it's always unique. Simply taking over someone else's strategy will not work for you at all, at least not entirely. And connected with that, I think, is comparing. It comes with the comparison to others. Not only will that mislead you and steer you away from what you're creating for yourself and your own plan, your own strategy, which will give you a result that you want for your life and your business, but it can also affect you emotionally. So someone else might be ahead of you and seemingly doing better, doing great. You might feel that you're doing everything that the other person is doing, but you're not getting there. So that's another thing that can defeat you, something that can, let you say, okay, I've tried it, I've done it, I've tried it again, I've done it, it's not working out. So, you throw in the towel. Maybe you didn't try it using your own strategy. Maybe you didn't develop your own strategy in the first place. You were just copying someone else. So, and I also want to say that you just don't know what goes on behind someone else's business, or someone that you admire online, or that you see how things are going on. So you might have an idea of what their plan is because you see things happening on the outside, but you don't know what exactly is going on inside, what the exact strategy is. And even if you do, it's never, you don't have all the pieces so that you can mimic that strategy. So trying to mimic what someone else who seems successful at doing this is not the right approach. You need to create your own plan in order to succeed, because you have your own goals, and your goals might not be their goals. You never know. And that's the plan that we're going to be working in our mastermind. You know, developing your plan, developing from your goals what would be best for you to get to where you want to be.
That is so important. And this is a trap we can all fall into so easily.
Yes.
Because it's just so easy to look around you, start comparing yourself with someone else. And that is really the last thing you want to do when you're launching. It's not good for the business side, but it's definitely not good for you either, because, you know, comparing yourself very often comes with feelings of not being good enough and of not going to make it and all of that. So that's a big mistake, right, to avoid.
Yeah.
So it's a good one.
Exactly.
Now,
and if you think that you're not going to make it, meaning you're going to look at someone else's thing, you're trying to implement their strategy on your business or your launch, and then you're thinking, okay, this is not working, chances are it's not going to work, because you keep saying it. Yeah. You keep doing it. Yeah.
You're definitely going to influence yourself that way. That's so true. Now, mistake number 3 is also a really interesting one, and maybe one that people don't consider so much, and that's going too big too fast. And the reason why we've decided to add this one today is because of the mental and the emotional implications of going too big too fast. But not only that, because trying to reach for the stars when you haven't even learned to walk properly yet is pretty much in all cases going to backfire. The thing with going big and going really fast is that it's not something that is easy in business in general. Even in the most traditional sense of the term, when a business grows, it experiences growing pains.
Yes.
And when you're launching, you know, there are so many different moving parts to consider and so much to do that even the smallest launch can seem like a full-time job. So incrementing that to something much bigger on a different level means that you're not only going to have more moving parts to consider, that's number 1, but that you also need to have more people on board to help you and more time to action all of these different pieces. So there is so much more that can go wrong the bigger the launch becomes. And what goes for business really goes for launching here too. Don't try to grow too fast. Make sure you have a good foundation first and that you have a dream team. You know, the dream team we discussed in masterclass number 1. If you want it too big, too fast, your chances of failure and exhaustion, mentally, emotionally, even physically, are going to increase. And there is nothing wrong with a small launch. That's the thing. On the contrary, you know, I find much more joy in a small, well-executed and well-balanced launch than in a big one where money seems to disappear into thin air, everyone's exhausted, deadlines are not met, and in the end, you're left with a feeling of failure, even if your launch was a big, big success. And as you know, Patushka and I are all about launching with love. We mentioned that before. And knowing what will work for you to remain really happy and uplifted throughout your launch is essential to its success, especially when you measure success by your level of happiness and calm throughout and after the process, which is exactly what we're advocating. Right? We're not simply saying, okay, you know, we're going to make this amount of money or that. No, this entire process, this is part of your life, and it should be as enjoyable and as positive as possible. What do you think, Patushka?
Yes, I agree. I love launching with love because it can be frustrating. It can be, you know, just you can break down, you can, and all of this, you know, happens even when you have a lot of love, a lot of support around you. So approaching it in a way that you're prepared mentally and you're prepared with having your team always helps. And another thing that I wanted to mention when you were talking about, how looking at bigger businesses and trying to launch like they are, the thing that I've realized with launching is every time you do it better, first of all. Second, you grow. Every time you launch, your business grows in some type of way. You might get more people on your list this time around. You might get more visibility this time around. You might get more clients, which is what most of us want. But every time you launch something, every time you launch the same product, you fine tune, you grow, and you get to the same next level for yourself. Mm-hmm.
That is so true. Yeah. So there is really, just going through the process in and of itself is something that is good for your business.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
So the next mistake that we wanted to talk about, and that's mistake number 4, is wanting everything to be perfect before launching. I don't know, all these mistakes, they all kind of, every time I talk about them, I get a little ping in my heart, like, this is what I see. But yes, and wanting everything, every dot on the I's, every T's that has to be crossed, everything has to be perfect. And I think I understand where it comes from. I love to give, the most beautiful experience to my clients. I love to give the most beautiful, the thing that's most valued to me, to my clients. So having beautiful, gorgeous images, having everything, their experience being, as easy and as beautiful it can be, is what I want. But being a perfectionist can be a big issue when you're launching. Not just in launching, but also in business in general. If you're going to wait for everything to be perfect before you launch, you're never going to launch. And I say that all the time to my clients. When I work with them, I say that to myself, and I make this mistake too, time and time again. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Muriel has no idea I'm going to talk about this. So she might hit me afterwards. So things are never going to be perfect, ever. I'm sorry to break it down to you like this, but instead, what you want to aim for is good enough. Very often, what we think is good enough also is perfection to others, perfection to your prospect and your clients. This is something that I've experienced, and that good and good enough for them too. And that's what you have to remember. I was gonna give an example of myself with this launch right now. So right now, we are in the midst of creating our sales page to reveal to everyone. And we're kind of late. I'm kind of late because that was something that had to be done. But we have a beautiful PDF that we created for people that we've personally invited to the mastermind. And, Muriel, being the awesome partner that she is, I told her, well, the sales page is not ready for today. And she's like, well, the PDF is ready. And that's good enough. It's still a beautiful PDF. It has all the information that are supposed to be on the sales page, and the links to purchase are all on there. So the sales page is not ready, but we have something that's good enough. And it's beautiful, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is really beautiful.
Yes. So the second thing that I wanted to talk about here too is how much you want to plan, because you cannot plan every little thing in advance. Having an awesome plan, like we talk in masterclass number 1, and as detailed as you can get, but there are details that you won't think about, at the beginning. We have a calendar, yes. We have a roadmap, or like Muriel likes to call it, or timeline, like I like to call it. We have our content prepared as much as we can. But then life happens. Things get in the way. You'll need to be flexible with how things flow, how things are delivered to your prospects and your future clients. So what point is there to wait until you have everything perfect and laid out to when you want to launch? Everything will never be perfect and laid out. There will always be a few straggling things to consider. And finally, I want to mention that launching is very, it's always a little messy. Not very, always a little messy. If you plan everything out, you might have missed something, like I was saying before. You might get sick. The tech might die on you, which happens all the time. Yeah, that's like the number one thing. You're gonna have a tech issue. Get prepared.
Whatever happens, it's gonna be there.
Exactly. You might realize that you've missed a super important step in your eyes, because it might not be an important step in your prospect's eyes because they didn't even realize it was supposed to be there. All of this might happen. You might want it to be perfect. You might want it to be perfect in the way that you laid out, but in the way that your prospect or the people that are coming on as your launch unfolds, for them, you are showing them, how things are. They don't know how you planned it. So letting loose a little bit on that. As soon as you have something tangible, you have your plan together, you're putting it together, you put your plan in place, I think that's good enough. In the end, if you never take action on your plan and you never take action on your timeline, you never start doing anything, you will not sell anything. That's it. So yeah. Yeah.
It's such an interesting balance, right? Because in masterclass number 1, we were all about, you have to have a plan,
yes.
You need a roadmap, you need all of that. And then now today we're telling everyone, you can't plan everything, and you have to be flexible and don't try to be perfect. But I think that is what makes it so interesting, because we're all human beings, and we don't have a vision of the future. We don't know what's coming at us. We don't know all the things that can happen during a launch. But what we can do is we can be as mindful as possible, and we can decide to take things as they come, and we can decide to just be happy with good enough. And that's what I really like about this, because that's what we have to try and do.
Exactly. It's a life lesson, right? Because that's what you have to do in life. And I am going to give another example that Milia did not know I was going to give. And at the beginning of our launch, wasn't I being a bit obsessive? And you had to tell me stop? Yeah. So it happened to everyone.
I thought it was enthusiasm,
Yes, you call it enthusiasm. I call it obsession.
Yeah, but that too, that's so interesting, Patushka, because, we are such creative women. And when we get an idea and we want to do something with it, sometimes, we're unstoppable. But being unstoppable like that is an enormous quality in life, because it makes you move mountains. But at the same time, it can really work against you when you're not capable of just slowing down and taking things as they are. There you have again, it's that balance.
It's balance, exactly. For people who are super enthusiastic like me and want to get started now and do this and do that, and there are people who are super perfectionists and want every little thing laid out before they even start. And you have to find that balance and be mindful and accepting of yourself and whatever happens, because you don't have control of the world and what happens.
I think of a third category of people as well that I think will profit a lot from the mastermind, and that is the women that have been playing with an idea for a launch for so long and they haven't done anything with it. And it might be because they're waiting for everything to be perfect, or because they think they have to learn something more before they can, or because they're not ready. It could be a million things. But basically what it comes down to is, up until now, they've not taken the action to actually do the launch, and having a sisterhood there with them to motivate them, to give them the tools and to do it together with them, I think is one of the best ways to get people into action. I actually can't wait myself, because I'm so happy, because I want to launch this year as well. And I know you want to. So, just that we're going to be in that cycle ourselves just makes everything amazing.
Yes, it does. It does.
Okay, well, this brings us so beautifully to mistake number 5. Not pushing through until the end.
Oh my
gosh. Now, that's also a big one, right? Those are 5 big mistakes, yeah? So all this work that you're doing and that you're going to do during your launch, all this flexibility that you're going to show, because things won't go as planned, of course, or changes will happen, or someone will get sick. Well, in the end, even with a great launch calendar and a great plan, might leave you exhausted and ready to quit at one moment or another. We know this. Patushka, she knows this.
Yes.
Maybe the numbers are not what you expected, right? And you're becoming discouraged with how your launch is going, or maybe you've had so many tech issues along the way that you can't look at another computer screen. But you will have about another 3 weeks to go on your launch, or the cart just opened and this is the week for you. If that's the case, you have to push through. There is no other way. And this is the moment that most get discouraged. Very often, and this is not only with launching, it can be with businesses, it can even be in your life and with stuff that you're doing there. You've put all of this energy in there, and the result is not what you expected so far, or the finish line looks so far away, and then you really want to give up. You have that moment where you say, I don't care anymore. I don't want to go on anymore. Just drop it. Let's stop everything. But that's a big mistake. You cannot know how your launch is going to end if you don't stick around until the end. And so it's really important to push through and to keep going, especially when you're thinking, that's it, I'm done. And what Patushka was mentioning earlier, that, whatever the end result of your launch, it's going to be a life lesson. It's going to teach you something. It's going to make you grow into a better business person. It's going to teach you about launching. So, we talked about this in the previous masterclass as well. It's okay sometimes to step away, take a breather. We all need to do that sometimes. And it's a very self-loving thing to do as well. So sticking around when you need some fresh air is not what we're talking about here. We are definitely all pro that you listen to your body, you listen to your emotions, and instead of pushing when you're exhausted and then quit, you take a break. You delegate, you do whatever you need to do to keep your launch going and recharge your batteries. But that's not the same as quitting. You have to hold on until the end. What do you think about that, Patushka? I know that you've had a lot of experience with this.
Oh my gosh. I was just, I noted a couple of things, because today I received an email from a client of mine. And I actually helped her with her launch strategy. I helped her lay out everything. And I think that was a couple of months ago when she, because it's a 3-month launch thing that she's doing. And today she's opening the cart and she's like, oh, nothing's happening. And I'm like, hello, right now is the time that you actually have to hustle. It's the time you can't stop. You have to get out there. You have to be seen. You have to be heard. You have to reach out. You have to do whatever you have to do to keep your launch going, and then close that sales cycle. Because right now is actually when the sales cycle begins, because the launch, the cart is open. Another thing that I see happens, and there are different reasons why people stop. And like you're saying, some of the reasons are they don't know that after the cart is open, you actually have to do work. It's not just about opening self pages here and then waiting. No. They don't know that, and some of them, they know that, but they just don't. Fear sets in. And I remember a beautiful client of mine that I worked with on one of her launches, and she was like, well, I've launched before a couple of times. It never worked. And we looked at the different things that she's done in the different ways, that she presented her launch. And I realized that she never, when she got to, the actual sales, it was done. She was like, oh, okay, I'm done. Let's move on to the next, having shiny object syndrome. Okay, I'm done with this. Let's just go on to the next. And then she was wondering, why wasn't I ever getting any sales in my launches? Wasn't I ever getting you beautiful clients that I want? But you're never ending it. You're always, once it's out there, you just move on to the next thing, and which is leaving people who are on your people who are on the launch pathway with you. You're gone, so they're still there waiting. What are you doing? So making sure that you close that cycle and that you work for it, because launching is still work. Yeah.
That is such a good point, because it's in that last bit, you've lived up to that moment and you've built up to that moment. And it's a very short period when you look at the whole launch.
Yes.
It's the moment that you're actually selling, and that people can actually buy, because you're selling longer in that cycle, but that people can actually buy your product or service. And that's where a lot of people get discouraged. And we're here to tell them they don't have to be, because very often the best sales and everything comes at the end of that cycle.
Yes.
And also, as you have so beautifully said, the more effort they put into that part, the more they hustle, which is like the big word, right?
Yeah.
The more they sell. That's how it is. So with my own launches, I look at that period as the most exciting but also exhausting part, because there is the buildup of the momentum, and then there is, okay, you have everything is ready, but still you as a person, it's your product or it's your service. So you have to, sell it really. And that's not just pressing a button and then wait. That's really being there, answering requests, helping people, connecting with people even more than before in the launch.
Exactly. And reaching out,
Yes.
And even changing, tweaking this strategy and making sure that people see you, or that, people are aware that the cart is open or things like that, or that you have this thing. So yeah, I agree.
And also, and we could talk about this for hours, right? But that's all we're gonna do in the mastermind, so that's a good thing. But it's also really making sure that everyone is that all obstacles to your sale are taken away, that you're available, that people can get in touch with you, that they can see you, so that is a really interesting moment in the launch.
Yes, it is. And it's the selling moment. Basically, this is the part where you have to sell. And I know a lot of people don't like to sell. They don't like to talk about, okay, this is my thing and this is what it does, and you have to buy it. And it's very uncomfortable, the selling process. But you have to remember that first, you have a business. Second, you're offering tremendous value, and they've actually asked you for this. So, and when you stand behind your own thing, it's really what makes them want more of it. So don't just put it out there and retreat and hide out.
No, and that's what's so good about having a long runway for a launch, especially when you're with peers. Even if you don't want to get into our mastermind, if you're thinking about launching, I would say that, Patushka, you agree with me when I say try to find a friend, a partner that's going to launch as well, because it's so much easier when you do it together. And if you have a long runway, you can actually get much more confident. And the more confident you become in your launch, in your product, in your service, the less the sales process is going to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, you want to get to a point where you're actually so proud of what you're putting out into the world that there is no need for it to be difficult, right?
Exactly. So that you remove those barriers, not just for the people that you want to, embark with your new program, your new, service or your product, but for yourself too.
Now we're so overly excited today because the doors of the mastermind are open, not officially. They're not officially open, but still, it's open. But for whomever was in this masterclass and the wonderful peeps we had in our previous masterclasses, we've opened the doors a little early to the mastermind to make sure that you can get in the program and secure a spot. Now, this is important because we are limiting participants and not everyone will be able to join, because we really want to make sure we can offer you the best support throughout the 6 months that we're going to be working together. So the official start date of our mastermind is May 1st, and it will be a 6-month adventure where we'll make you completely ready to launch your new product or service together with us by the end of September, the beginning of October 2016. And during that time, we'll prepare everything together with you, the strategy, the calendar, the roadmap, all the assets, the emails, everything that you need to put together to have a successful launch, we'll do. But we'll do more than that, because we're very much into mindset. We're very much into collaboration. We're very much into sharing. And so what we're going to do is in September, October, Patushka and I are going to launch our own thing as well. And we'll prepare our launch alongside yours. So you'll get everything that you need to be successful. And we'll share all that we know and have implemented successfully before with you as well.
Yay! So like Muriel was saying, the spots are limited because we want it to be a very close knit of sisters. And then this is something that I've seen work when it comes to masterminding, because this is not my first mastermind. I've done a few, and I participated in a few. And I know that when you have support and you know everybody and you know how everybody can support you, and one can fill in when another person is not available, it really thrives because it is its own ecosystem. So we wanted it to be, spaces are limited. We wanted to have a close knit, including each other. So yay! You can start by enrolling today if you want. You can go to bit.ly/
I'll paste it in the chat as well.
Okay, yes. / launch mastermind. And like I said, this is our beautiful PDF invitation. Yeah. And you can sign up right now. You can go through the PDF because it showcases everything that we're offering and what we'll be helping you with. And at the end of the page, you can see, the links for you to enroll, choosing your payment plan and things like that, or paying in full if you wish. You can click on these numbers, and then a page will open for you. So the mastermind is officially open, right?
Yeah.
So I also wanted to say, before we celebrate, pop the champagne, everything, there's a cost as with the mastermind, and we kept it to a minimum. It's $150 a month for 6 months. And why we did that is because we want people who are launching for the first time. And if it's your second and third time, that's cool too. And people who are fairly new to business, 2-3 years in business, to be able to do this with us without having a heavy investment, and being comfortable and being able to share what they can. So why we put an investment is because we want people to be dedicated. We want them to know that they're here for a reason. They're here to advance their business. But we also wanted to make it comfortable for a new business or a fairly new business, 2 to 3 years in, a fairly new coach to be able to afford it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as part of the mastermind, also we'll be in touch with you on an ongoing basis through a Facebook group. You'll get weekly emails with what you have to do and work that you have to do to make your launch a success, and access to our very own launching material, since we'll be doing it with you. And every 2 weeks, we'll have a call, and we will help you move your launch forward if you're stuck. And even if you're not stuck and you have questions or ideas, you can bounce it or discuss strategy, which we love. And once you're enrolled, and that's something that I didn't mention, when you enroll, the first thing you'll get is an email and to get you on a call with either me or Muriel, a 30-minute call, because we want to know what you want to launch. We want to know what your experience with launching has been. We want to know what your business is about. We want to know all the basic and fundamentals of the details, so we can set you up and help you set yourself up to get to your goals.
Absolutely. So, champagne time.
Yes,
we are officially open for business.
Exactly.
And so the official launch is going to follow soon. But so anyone who was on the master classes will also get an email with the PDF, if I'm not mistaken, Katushka, and will be able to enroll through the links that are on that PDF. Now, it's Q&A time. So if anybody wants to ask us a question, now is the time.
Yes, Go to launchingwithlove.com/masterclass, and you'll see the chat function there.
Yeah, there is maybe people are following from another place. That's
exactly
true. Yeah. While we wait and see if there are any particular questions, there was a question that came back very regularly and that people were wondering about, and that is for those that aren't too familiar with what masterminds really are, and what the difference is between a mastermind and, I don't know, an online course or something like that. Any other type of e-course that you could have. Well, other type. A mastermind is not really an e-course. So I think that's a very interesting question, and maybe one you want to address, Katushka, or.
Yes, and I'm sure when I'm done addressing, you'll have your things to say too. So a mastermind, for me, I've been in mastermind since I started my business, and what it helped me do is have real feedback and timely feedback from other people. From everybody else who's in the mastermind. Feedback from multiple sources, people with multiple backgrounds, who have multiple types of businesses, because sometimes you don't know who's gonna be in a mastermind with you. So it's not just about getting the content from or the expertise from the people who created the mastermind or the teachers or coaches who created the mastermind, but also gathering this information from your peers who are in the mastermind with you too, who've had their own experience with business, either as a business owner or a customer, or my most recent masterminds that I've been in, I was a perfect customer for one of my mastermind sisters. So she would come to me with, tests and things to, feedback forms and things like that to test it on me and ask me questions, because that's the thing that she was creating. I needed it desperately. So I was perfect. And she did create the thing, and she has a whole bunch of customers now. And I'm part of that too. But yes, and not just the sisters and having business, people who have business experience who can give you, feedback, but also the community, the sisterhood that I experience in masterminds. I've had mastermind sisters that I met them in the mastermind like maybe 7 years ago, and we still talk to each other I go to their house. When I travel instead of going to a hotel, and we hang out. We talk business. We talk like we grew to become friends, and that happens a lot in masterminds. You get a lot of connections, and if it doesn't become a friendship, you have another business connection. You can reach out to someone when it's over or when it's happening, and that's what I've experienced.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I really like about masterminds as well is that everybody has things they've tried and that worked in their business, and everybody's ready to share that with the group. So, instead of having to make all of the mistakes yourself and figuring out everything yourself, you have this added value that when you ask a question, you get immediate replies and response and feedback from people who've been there, who tested stuff, and they can really tell you what worked, what didn't work. So for me, or they have like these little gems, they have a podcast they know is amazing, or they have a tech thing that, they're using and is doing miracles for them, or all of that. And all of that is just shared very openly and very easily between the members of a mastermind, which makes it a very unique kind of ecosystem, where you have all these different layers of support and help at your fingertips.
Yes. And I don't remember who said that. And someone who's watching this is probably going to text me after and be like, this is the person that said it. When you're part of our mastermind, you have your own brain and experiences, and then you have another person. For example, Muriel and I, we create our own mastermind together. It's just her and I. And then there's a third brain that's created because of the knowledge that she has and that I have. There's a third other person there with all this knowledge and experience. So it's not just the two of us, it's the three of us. So imagine if it's like 6 people, how many?
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's amazing what you can achieve. And what's also so interesting, and that was something that one of the ladies said in a mastermind I'm currently in, and she said, we're talking about all of this now, but imagine the discussions we're going to have in 5 years.
Yes.
Imagine where we'll be. Imagine, because we're all helping each other to achieve things, and we cheer for each other's successes, and we're really happy to see each other grow and be successful. But that's going to be our case as well. Everything that we want to achieve, all of these monumental things, they're going to be in our future.
Exactly. And it's so much better to do things in sisterhood than by yourself, because it could be building a business and building this coaching business, if you have a coaching business, or if you have if you're a photographer, if you have a creative business, going at it alone, especially when you don't have a lot of people who understand what you're trying to achieve. It's the norm, but not entirely the norm. When you try to not be your own boss and try to get more customers for yourself and create this lifestyle that you want and that you crave, not everyone is going to understand. And when you have a group of people who understands and who are living what you're living, it makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And it's not easy. It's true. It's not easy, especially when you have to go at it alone, but you don't have to, right? There are so many people waiting to do things together and collaborate. So there is really no excuse, right? And there is this beautiful mastermind.
Yes. One thing that I was not going to mention that. And something that I've realized after doing this for 8 years, being in business for 8 years, is that nothing ever happens without other people. This is just a life thing anyways. Nothing ever happens without other people. That's even with money. Nothing ever happens without other people. So having this, collaboration and ecosystem, being part of it, I think, being part of so many different masterminds that I create and other people have invited me or that I've purchased or been a part of, it all made for growth for me, but also for my business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I don't think that we have any other questions at this time.
Okay.
So I think that maybe we can round off for today, and let everybody know that masterclass for the fourth and final masterclass is coming up next week. But that's only the end of the beginning.
Exactly.
So it's not that bad.
No.
That all the master classes can be viewed online at launchingwithlove.com/masterclasses, and that everyone is going to get a PDF about a mastermind. Doors are open. Get in there fast. Remember, spots are limited, and we really want you in there with us.
Perfect.
Any final words, Patushka?
No, I'm very excited.
Me too. Me too.
And thank you for being here. Oh, I do have a final word. And that email that you're gonna get with the PDF about our mastermind, Launching with Love Mastermind, you're also gonna get the notes from today's masterclass. Those little notes that are gonna help you remember what we talked about today.
Absolutely. And it was such a pleasure. I had so much fun.
Yes.
And I can't wait for next week. So Patushka and everyone, bye for now and talk to you soon.
Bye.